Hello there. First of all, thank you for choosing to watch this video, and you must be interested in Deneb, or I at least hope you are, and creating some cool visualizations with Deneb. What we're looking at today in this video is how to compare a couple of values. So if you want to compare like an actual to a plan, which is, quite a common requirement of reporting, this is what I want to look at today. So let's get going and not waste too much time. And we're going to edit this visual and create it pretty much from scratch. I'm going to get rid of everything other than the X and the Y axes that you see here. So I'll apply that change and you'll see now that we just have nothing because all we have is the encoding for the X and the Y axes. It's pretty standard stuff. The X axis says round, so for you it might be date, but I'm using a data set where it's round. And we have on the Y axis our actuals, not the plan, the actuals. We could also specify plan there, but it just makes a small impact on what we will write later. Anyway, pretty much always you want to start off with just creating a layer, or creating the possibility to use layers. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to say layer, and then we're going to open that up. And everything between these two square brackets is going to be all the layers. So we need to now add layers. We're going to add at first 2 bars and then 2 texts, and then we'll look at that and see how it looks, and then we'll take it from there. So the first one is going to be mark, and it's going to be type. And as I said, it's going to be mark, it's going to be type, and we're going to say bar. Mark, type, bar. And you can just really, leave it at that. I've forgotten to, you always have to open up each layer, which I've forgotten to do there. So mark, type, bar, and then that will basically be our first layer. But it doesn't really show much of anything. So mark, type, bar, and that's it. And we can see that if we add the comma here and just make that change, you can see that's what we have. We have now, in a really basic way, just showing the actuals and a bar chart. It's pretty uninteresting, very far from what we want to achieve, but for now, we can just leave it at that. Well, I will actually add a couple of things, because what I want to say is, I want to say that the color of this bar needs to be, and let's say, I like to use like this kind of monochromy colors at the moment. It's not to everyone's taste, but right now, that's what I'm using. So mark, type, bar, and it's using this y-axis here, which is why it's automatically showing the actuals. Yeah, though right now you can't see that because there's no data labels or anything. Now I want to create a second bar. So now I'm going to say, again, I need to open up my new layer and say mark, and again, same as before, type, and again, bar. So as you can see, it's pretty repetitive and it's quite easy to kind of get going with this stuff. For this one, I do need to specify straight away the encoding, because the encoding of this one is going to be that the y-axis, which I'm going to copy and paste here, the y-axis is not going to be the actual, but rather it's going to be the plan, right? So it's going to be plan on the y-axis. So what we're saying now is that here within the mark type bar that we've created here, and the encoding here is, as you can see, Y field plan. So when I apply that change, you can see that it's pretty hard to see. You can see though that there are 2 values there, right? Kind of. But of course, the second bar is sitting on top of the first bar, right? So if the plan figures are higher than the actuals, you're not going to see the actuals at all. So I want to change, the first thing that I want to change, other than the color, the first thing is I'm going to specify the width I'm going to specify the width, and I'm going to say I want the width of this bar to be narrower, so it's easier to see what's, so you can't see anything that's behind it. So I want the width to be 25. So straight away we have that. Maybe that's too narrow. You can play around with the value, you know, do what you want. And now you see that the plan figures are kind of sitting on top of the actuals, but you can see the actuals because it's much narrower on the plan. I'm also going to add actually into the first bar. I also want to specify the width. I'm going to make it wider, of course. That's again too narrow. So let's just say width, you know, 80, and there we've specified the width of both. And now I'm going to go back to the second bar, and I'm going to say I want the color of this one to be a lot lighter, and I'm going to say E333. Nice. I do like the color, but what we can also do is say I want to add like a stroke to that, and the stroke is going to give it like a border around the outside. It maybe you don't like it, that's fine, but we're just looking at the possibilities here, right? So now we have like a border around that, so I think it's a bit clearer, and looks okay. Now, to push that to one side, I can specify what is referred to as an X offset. You can use X and Y offset, and we will use both here. And I'm going to say X offset, I want to push it to the right, like that. Yeah, okay. No, okay. Maybe just a little bit more, actually, so it kind of like sticks out the side, like kind of pops out there. So again, I'm using bars. You don't have to use a bar for this, you know. If you wanted to, you could use a completely different type of mark, and you could say use like a rule, mark type rule. And yeah, so it gives you this like very thin line, of course. But then on top of the rule, you could say I want to add a point. And let's say the shape of the point is going to be, let's at first just say circle. And then we'll change it. Circle, like that, should maybe do it. So we have the circle, but it's in the wrong place, so we need to put the same X offset on that. I'm not sure if you like this. I'm not a massive fan, but yeah. So now we can just say same color is black. So now you have this little, whatever you want to call it, like a rule, a line with a circle on top, which to represent your plan numbers. You could change the shape to lots of different types of shapes, and lots of, I mean, that's a bit weird. But there's a great article by Kerry Kolosko on all the different shapes you can use on those points, which I'll link in the video description here. But that's an alternative as to what I have been doing, which is to create this bar. As I'm saying here, it's not about the end result. I mean, it kind of is. But it's also about the way we do it and the different options that you get within Deneb. So yeah, you could do it that way. But I'm going to go back to my type bar, and I'll get rid of this point that I no longer want nor need. Yeah, so this is where we were. Now we need to do pretty much exactly what we've already done, but for the data labels, right? Because you need to have data labels, otherwise you don't need to. But generally speaking, it's quite nice. Yeah, so we need to create a new layer, and then I'm going to go mark, and then I'm going to go again type. It's always mark, and then not that weird. Mark, and then we go yeah, type and text. So we need within the mark type text to specify. I keep forgetting to open my marks, my layers. I need to then specify the encoding. And the encoding is gonna be at first simply that the text field is going to be, and we're going to say actuals. We'll start with actuals. Actual. So now you can see, if we kind of zoom in there, that they are there, but they're kind of, I mean, they're there, but it's using that y-axis, and it's exactly where, of course, the bar ends, which is, you know, correct, but looks, you know, ludicrous. I'll change the color to black so you can kind of see more what I mean by that. So that's the text values that are there. And as I said before, you can have X and Y offset. So now we're going to use Y offset, and I'm going to push the text up over and say Y offset's -10, like that. So our text is just above the bar. And I'm going to push it actually also to the left a bit. Oh, wrong way. Should be -5, sorry. Just so there's no chance of it clashing with the bar of the plan, yeah? And that's the data label for the actuals, so nice and straightforward. And I need to repeat that now for my my plan data labels. So I can kind of, yeah, just copy and paste this one. I'll have to make some adjustments, of course, because the field is not going to be actual, it's going to be plan. And I don't want these, but we'll check that in a second. So now you can see I've applied that change, and it sits directly on top of the other data label. And this is for a few reasons. The first reason is that I need to specify, again, the y-axis, because we're not using the y-axis actual, we're using the y-axis plan. So within this text type, I'm going to say the y-axis should be not actual, but rather plan. So it's in the correct place, you know, on the y-axis, but we need to ensure that it's the same x offset as the bar, and that we use this x offset of was it 30? Yeah, there you go. And let's say instead of y offset -10, we're going to use 10, so the values sit inside. And one little change, I'm also going to say size, and let's say 10 maybe as well. Yeah, just to make it a little bit smaller, just to have that distinction. It's all about these little distinctions, so it becomes more and more clear as to what we're dealing with. Yeah, that's about what I like, to be honest. That's what I wanted to create. Again, I know it's missing something, and I'm going to get at that in a second, don't worry. But let's look at it and see how it looks now. I'm pretty happy with that visualization. I do like how it looks. Again, I totally understand if you don't like that. You can change pretty much every element of what I've just done. Again, the beauty of Deneb, you can just go through and change everything to make it precisely how you want it. That's what Deneb's all about, right? Complete customization. What it's missing, it has no legend, right? So if you look at this, you can see two values. You can see, we know that they are the actual and the plan. The user doesn't know that straight away, and it's all about that immediate impact, the information straight away. If you have to think about it, then it's not good enough. So we need to add that now. And we kind of need to add that, and yeah, a bit of a hacky way, to be honest, but I'm fine with that, because it really helps me create exactly what I want to create. And we are going to use a fold. I've used fold in previous videos, and what a fold is, you can see the description of that on the Vega-Lite documentation, which is, you know, it says it right here. If you want to read that, then just pause this video now. But let's just look at it and see how it works. So basically, it allows you to take however number of measures you want and it breaks those down into the name of the measure and the value of the measure. It's a pretty cool thing. And I want to copy and paste it in because I really, I don't want to type it, to be honest, but it's going to go inside a new mark. This is that 5th mark I was referring to before. You're not going to be able to see this mark other than the legend. Totally hacky, works well, so therefore I don't care. So we're going to say, start off, mark. We're not going to use bar. There you go. We're going to use mark, and we're going to use type circle. Just mark, type, and then circle, like that. So if I were to apply that change now, which I just did, you can see that a circle has appeared. So we don't want that circle. It's weird, right? But not to worry. This is where our fold comes in, and, well, one other little thing. So before I actually create the mark, I'm going to say that I want to do a transform, and I'm going to copy and paste that in and explain it. I've said there, transform, because a fold is a transform, and I've just named my 2 measures, which are actual and plan. Fold, actual and plan as, so I'm going to name them now. So the name of the 2 measures are now just referred to collectively as metrics, and the values are referred to collectively as number. This is what you have. And what that allows me to do now within this mark is to say, I'll give it some encoding. And the encoding is going to be the color based on that transform that we just created. So encoding, right? Then it's going to be color. And it's going to be color. The colors are going to be based on a field. The field that we're going to base it on is the metrics that we just used before, right? So field and then metrics. This is what we just created. So now if I were to apply that change, you would see these 2 colors, this blue and this orange. Well, great. So I have a legend now. I need that legend, but the legend is garbage, right? Because they are not the colors that I have within my bars. Easy to fix that. We're going to go field, metrics, and then I simply need to say scale. And the scale is going to be based on a range that I specify. And I only need to specify 2 colors, and the 2 colors I need to specify are the ones that we've used on the bars. So important to get it the right way around, otherwise actual and planned will be the wrong color, but it's, again, it's really easy. So the range is going to be, the first one is going to be our 5C, 5C, 5C. And the second one is going to be our E3, E3, E3. Hopefully I've got that right. Yeah, I did. Cool. So now we have our legend. We don't want the circle. So let's get totally hacky here and say, I want, this is so bad, size of my circle to be 0. Done. So now I've created a legend based on the fields that we had by creating a transform. So now I have a legend which says that, you know, the dark color is my actual, the lighter color is my plan, and it's broken down precisely how I want to show my data, which to me is, again, absolutely the beauty of Deneb. And that's it. You can do more with the legend, but that's probably for a different video, to be honest. But that's what I wanted to show you, how to create something like that, where you can really precisely control where everything sits, where you're comparing two values. Can you do this 1,000 other ways? Absolutely, you can. Can you do it using standard Power BI visualizations? Of course you can. But the joy of doing it with Deneb is you can put everything precisely where you want it to be. You are in complete control. Maybe I like Deneb because I'm a bit of a control freak. That's fine. I own up to that. But this is what you have here. I hope you can apply some of what I've done in this video to your Deneb visualizations and create something better than what we've created here. And yeah, I hope you learned something. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, like, subscribe, all that type of stuff that we do on YouTube. And yeah, thanks very much. Enjoy all of Deneb, Power BI, and data visualization and all that type of stuff. And take care and goodbye.